Welcome to Disney and Positive Stuff, formerly known as Daps Magic the Podcast. I'm Mr. Daps, and today I am so excited for this episode. This week, on the 8th, actually, of January, we got to go to the world premiere of Disneyland Handcrafted. This is a documentary that takes a look at the year leading up to the opening of Disneyland, and it has so many things I've never seen before. And it really is impressive storytelling from Leslie Iwerks. But I'm not going to get too much into that yet because I'm going to invite my friend Adam Bankhurst to hop on with me. And together we are going to share about our experience going to the Walt Disney Studios and getting to experience the world premiere of Disneyland Handcrafted. Before we get into all that, though, if you would like to connect with Daps Magic more, with me more, even more with Adam before we get to meet him, there's a few places you can go. First off, we have Daps Magic HQ or Daps HQ. If you go to patreon.com/dapsmagic, you can connect with us there for that. You can also connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, wherever it is that you feel like you would like to interact with us more. We would love to geek out about Disney and positive stuff with you. Also, YouTube, what am I saying? That's a very important one as well. Also, Adam Bankhurst, who is our guest today. You can find him, I would start at Instagram, but look up Adam Bankhurst, and that is him, and we'll have that in the show notes so that you don't miss anything that he has coming out with his incredible content that really is a lot of fun. But without too much further ado, I'm going to tell you about Adam, I'm going to tell you about this episode, and then we're going to get right into our conversation. So Adam and I met, I don't know, a couple years ago probably. He works for IGN, where he writes and he does a bunch of really great stuff. And he also has a podcast that you're going to want to check out. And we have gotten to do multiple events together, and it's always been a lot of fun. He's one of those guys that when you walk into the room and you see he's in the room, you instantly get a smile on your face. He brings that positive energy into every room and every space that he's in. And it's just one of those guys you like having around. He's from Cleveland, Ohio, so he did fly out for this event, and he flew right back, which is where he recorded this podcast with me from. And he covers all sorts of stuff for IGN, whether it's Disney, Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, which would be a whole fun thing to get into as well, Nintendo, Final Fantasy, Mass Effect, and a whole lot more. Be sure to check out his work on IGN and then also on his Instagram and TikTok. You won't regret it. But what we are going to talk about today is Disneyland Handcrafted. We're going to talk about our experience at the Walt Disney Studios. This includes a question and answer session before the premiere actually began, and that was with Leslie Iwerks. We'll talk about some of our takeaways from the movie, some of the things that really jumped out to us during this documentary, and then some lessons we got from it as well, and some surprises that I'm just going to leave for you to hear as we get to them. But without further ado, please join me in virtually welcoming Adam Bankhurst. Welcome, Adam. We are so excited to have you here on Disney and Positive Stuff, and I love that we finally made this happen. We've done, I don't even know how many events together. We've done quite a few together.
That's how you know we're doing it right. When you forget, that means something good has happened.
Exactly, and we always have a blast, and so I'm sure this is going to be a blast as well. And the most recent event we got to cover together was the world premiere of Disneyland Handcrafted, which is the new documentary from Leslie Iwerks. And if you've seen We Call It Imagineering, you are going to love this documentary. And we won't get ahead of ourselves too far. We got to go to the Walt Disney Studios earlier this week. And actually, it was kind of a cool night for us Californians, but you being from the Midwest, or you East Coast, what do they consider that?
Midwest, yeah. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, so we're a Midwestern boy, we like to say.
Okay, I was like, I don't know where that line ends.
We let's consider that. Well, we proudly call ourselves the Midwest, so we like it.
So you were a little bit more comfortable than the rest of us, but you also were way more excited than the rest of us because this was your first time at the Walt Disney Studios. And I feel like before we get into anything Disneyland Handcrafted, I would love to hear your initial thoughts walking onto the lot and just whatever was going through your heart and your head.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a dream to go on the lot in the studio and I had the really distinct honor of going to Imagineering last year to check out like a preview of the Walt Disney audio animatronic figure, which was just an unbelievable honor to be able to go into that. And this had that same feeling. Just even when you pull into the lot and you see like the Mickey water tower right there, and then you park, and then there's you just walking on your right is like the film archives, and there's an animation building and this, and you're just like, I just, I'm such a big history guy, especially Disney history, and just thinking of everything that happened on this lot and just trying to, take a moment because our lives are so fast paced. And these things, I just try to take it in because it's kind of impossible. It's so like tough to really take in everything, but I really tried to experience that. And, the way the premiere was set up, it was kind of in just one little like row. So I didn't get to see like the whole lot, but we got to see the Dopey Drive sign, and we got to see a bunch of other things that we'll talk later. Got to Walt's office. So I feel like I got a really good experience of it, but it was such an honor to be there. And I think even more like who was there. I mean, there were just so many Disney legends and people that are just so important to the history of Disney. Like, just it was honestly very overwhelming. It really was something truly remarkable.
As you're thinking about the people that you saw there, was there anybody that really stood out to you or surprised you
I mean, it was
or
cool.
just
It was cool
makes you
finally.
smile now?
Yeah, it was cool finally meeting Bob Gurr and like seeing him there, and especially I got to see. So if you go on I think his Instagram, I don't know if he did a story or posted, but a picture of him by the Dopey Drive sign, and I was like right there when he took that picture, and I'm just like, this is just what is this? This is crazy. But I mean, like Pete Docter was walking around, Josh Gad. I think like I saw Bob Weiss somewhere else, somewhere in there, and like there's just so many different people from the history of Disney, just so incredible to be just among those people. But no one
Really,
more important than Mr. Daps. I mean, that's the star of the night, as always. Come on.
you're way too kind.
I only speak the truth. Okay, come on.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say to that. But I do appreciate that we get to have these perspectives and experiences together as we walk into places like this. And we were standing on this one street right between the theater where so many things have been screened. And then right across from the theater is the old animation building, which is where so many things that we love were created through the years. And that just always blows my mind. I don't know how many times I've been there anymore, but you look up and you see that sign over the door and you're like, right there. Walt probably walked through that
Yeah.
door a million times,
And
maybe
it
at the other end of the hall, but
Yeah, right. And it just says animation. It's very unassuming. Like I mean, there's a lot of cool, like it feels cool and you're there, but it's not like overstated or like grand. It's just like
Mhm.
animation. And you just know the history that's been, yeah, like you said, in those up those steps and in those buildings and halls and stuff. It's pretty special.
Did you find, I'm getting a little off track, but this is just something that popped into my head as we were there. There's a timeless quality about being there. There's some of the most incredible technology you're ever going to see, or maybe not see, but it makes things there. And then you also have these buildings from 1940, and you could really get lost in when you're at. I almost feel like, I don't know if
Yeah.
you had that same
Oh
sort of a
yeah,
feel.
definitely. Definitely.
So they started the day with, or the evening, I guess I should say, with a blue carpet where we actually, as members of the media, we aren't usually in front of the camera for things like this, but they had us line up, and so we got our pictures taken, and they'll be our best pictures probably for the next year or two.
Yes,
And
definitely.
I mean, anytime you can get a Disney photographer taking your picture, you're in a good spot.
Yeah, for sure.
But then we got to go inside the theater, which I obsess over this theater just because, there's the light effects and the sound is so good in there. And there's two chairs down in front as we walk in, and the Disneyland Handcrafted logo above. So the night started with a Q&A session with Leslie Iwerks. And did anything jump out to you about this quick interview? It was like 10 minutes or something long. But was there anything she said during that interview that jumped out to you as you think back about how we started our night?
So I think the most important thing, and it wasn't even just her speaking, it was echoed in the documentary as well. But the focus that she puts on the people. I mean, the focus that she puts that Disneyland was made by an incredible group of people in an incredibly short amount of time. And this one of the most special moments too was like one of the last things you see in the documentary is basically a thank you to the people and artists and creators and dreamers and crafters who built Disneyland. And that's what this is really showing. Because when I talk to people about Disney, I always say like the real Disney magic is the people behind the magic you see. And it's so true. And I think this documentary and Leslie's words really it puts the focus on that. And I think that's so important because you see the big glitz and glamour and the rides, and those get all the headlines and stuff. But it's well, and we'll get into this in a little bit. These people are just like the one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life. How they built this in a year with like very little safety regulations, it seemed like, and a lot of other things. But I just love how she really put a focus on the people, which I think is really the most important, and how handcrafted this is. It's a perfect title because it
Mhm.
really was.
Well, didn't you find it piggybacking on that? There was one moment where she was talking about Disneyland, the place, and how Walt Disney was making this place that he hoped would be better, but he also hoped that people would be better because they went there. And that's not something we hear a whole lot in other documentaries or books of the focus on the people from that perspective too. And so it really was from top to bottom that focus on people. And I think you really nailed it and she really nailed it. And it was also a variety of people I was noticing as we were watching throughout the night. It wasn't just the iconic Imagineers that we see in lots of programs and interviews and things. And they're there, but there was a lot of other people that we didn't even get names for quite often that you saw them working, and maybe you saw this same worker a couple times throughout the documentary, but it really provided faces beyond the public facing faces we've had for 70 something years to really personalize the park in a weird way as I'm saying this, because you really did get a different perspective of Main Street USA or the Opera House or whatever it is, as you're watching, like, there's that guy that was working on this or polishing a turret on top of the castle or whatever. And I loved that she multiple times talked about it really was. It was kind of the heart and the purpose and the vision for Disneyland, as opposed to as a just the play. Like I think sometimes we get stuck in that a little bit. Was there anything else that jumped out to you from her interview?
I think the biggest thing and the thing that got the biggest pop in the theater was how all the footage that you're seeing in Disneyland Handcrafted besides TV spots was silent film. And they went to
Mhm.
Skywalker Ranch to recreate every little piece of sound and construction and going through the mud and hammering. So everything you see is not the sound that it actually was. Like it was recreated like painstakingly in this, and it's incredible. And it's like how much work that they had to put through to get this together and tell a compelling story and do that, and just that added layer of effort and thing that I think will make this really something that's truly like timeless and like a piece of real history. And I think that's such an important piece because sounds are so important too, and as part of the experience and the music and the sound and everything. And while it would be amazing to just watch the footage, having that extra layer really transports you a lot more. So I think that was like I think the most surprising thing that was kind of revealed and discussed there.
I totally agree with you on that. And then having that in your brain and then watching the documentary, and like there was a couple moments that stood out to me as we were watching. One of them was when they were putting in the train tracks and they had the different tones of
Yeah.
the spikes being hit. And I was like, "Oh, that's solid." Like
Right.
I
It's not
almost
just
had
stock
"I've been
things or
working on
whatever.
the railroad" pop into my head at that
Yeah, right.
moment.
Oh
But
my
like
gosh.
that moment, like, and it was timed absolutely
Yes.
perfect, and so you knew that was happening. And then another one that popped into me is they were spraying cement in Jungle Cruise,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and it sounded like that noise, when you spray cement, and, like,
Right.
that would be one that I think you could get wrong
Right,
because it could sound like
exactly.
too much water, or, like, it could be too porous, it could be too
Yeah.
like,
Oh
there's so
yeah.
many ways it could go
Such a thin
wrong.
line for sure.
And then you also watch the Mark Twain, the bell. And the bell, like, I literally could have closed my eyes and been at Disneyland listening to that bell because the sound was perfect. And it's what we all hear every time we go to Disneyland. But then it also somehow they lined up, which I'm assuming they went to Disneyland and re recorded the bell. Like, just
I would think
looking at
so. Yeah,
it
right?
sounded so close. And that would be a question I'd love to ask, actually.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But like it lined up, like as it was clanking back and forth. the bell lined up with the bell in front of it. Like, I don't know how they did that. Like, that
It's
was they
magic.
nailed
It's
it all the
magic.
way
It's
through.
literally magic. It's amazing.
It really was. And one of the things I think they did really well with this is a movie I think that could be made only today because it was 15, 20 years ago. The technology just wouldn't have been there to clean things up and to line things up and whatever. And they really did use the technology of today with the archives of 70 something years ago. What, 72? Is that what we're
Yeah.
looking at? 71. And and it really brought this story to life. And that was an interesting thing I thought also was the story slash structure of how this happened. So it actually, I don't know if it threw you off. The first thing you see is actually a year after Disneyland
Yeah.
opened.
Right.
Like,
It
did
was like
that
a
throw
little
you
flash
off at
forward a
all?
little bit, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, where they kind of started there and kind of give you that context, which I guess is a good thing. But yeah, it was definitely a little shocking. I thought it was going to, jump right into it, but yeah, it was a
right.
little bit of a swerve.
So you see Disneyland in 1956, I guess, and then it pops back to the year before Disneyland opens,
Nothing. It's
and there's
empty.
nothing there,
It's
and you're
crazy.
seeing trees everywhere, and some of it's cleared. It's an interesting thing. And then the way they structured this movie through it is you kind of take a moment in time that I'm sure is actually over, a course of a couple of weeks or something. But they look at where things are at this moment in time, what the progress is, some of the challenges of the moment, and the people that are working on it in different ways around that. And quite often it was narrated by Walt Disney, which I loved. Like, I thought this was such a good move because in we call it Imagineering, they brought in a narrator and it was great. But this was Walt telling Walt's story with Walt's people all the way through. And I really thought that nailed. Did you have any thoughts on how they told the story in that regard?
Yeah, I think that you said it perfectly, especially with the Walt part of it, him telling his own story. And I think what is really special about this too, and I think is different, and Leslie really focused on this too, is that the way this story is told, they don't jump cut to talking heads. Like you don't see a lot of it's just audio because they wanted when they Leslie and her team created this, they want you to live in this film. Like they really want you to be transported back to 1954 to 1955, getting into this and doing that. And I think not cutting away to choosing to not cut away makes it just that much more immersive. I think it was such a smart choice because, like I said, it's like it literally lets you live and see every moment, the goods, the bads, the faults, the fails, the successes. I think it was a really smart and inspired choice, honestly.
I completely agree with you. And it I think it added to the weight of whatever was happening in the moment too. Because sometimes when you're looking at a talking head, yes, you see the weight maybe on their face or in their eyes or whatever. But instead, like, I think there's one part which you mentioned the safety earlier, where is it Walt was talking about there was sometimes things would go wrong, but nobody was seriously hurt. And literally what they're showing in that moment is it's a caterpillar pushing dirt on the side of a hill, and then
At
it
a
rolls
crazy angle.
over and the guy jumps off.
And he's like, hey,
Yeah, it almost looked like it was staged. I don't think it
yes. Oh,
was,
yeah,
but
it does. And there were other things like, there were people like climbing steel beams like it was nothing with no harness and putting on flagpoles with no
the
safety. It's just,
flagpole at the
it's,
top
it's,
where
it's,
he's
it's I mean, no regard for safety. These were just like people so confident in their skills. And it's just like,
uh-huh.
how did nobody die? It's crazy.
Or the let's pick a person up with a crane.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
right.
they're
Or
literally
grab
just
an orange with the little like, the
huh?
excavator and give it to a lady who asked for it with such precision without crushing it. It's just
Uh-huh.
these people were just unbelievable, and like you
They
said, it's like
really
we don't know their names, but I think with this, we have that appreciation for, like, what it took and the type of people that yeah, like you said, you're never really gonna know them, unfortunately, but now they're glorified in this way, and when you, like, go to Disneyland, I think you'll have a greater appreciation of how this place was built.
and as you're saying that, I'm thinking of the guy that put I don't even know, the nose cone, is that what we call it, on the top of the rocket in
Yeah, yeah.
Tomorrowland? And he goes up on basically a piece of wood that he's sitting
Right.
on that looks like a swing from, like, a tree swing, and the guy is wearing socks so he doesn't scuff up the outside of the rocket. And he goes up and he goes to the top and he screws it on, and he built it by hand, it looked like, from
Yeah,
other things they
he was,
showed.
like, polishing a little bit too and just making sure it
Yeah.
was perfect, and So yeah, I'm so meticulous with everything.
And you saw people doing random things like that, whether it was making fake bricks or working on polishing the top of the castle. Like, it was ridiculous through the whole thing.
Little
At the
details, the little details.
and those I think really were part of the puzzle pieces that really make this movie's name so perfect. Because you watched them actually handcraft, the pirate ship for Peter Pan. We saw them carving and we saw them paint because you saw different parts of the process also. But yeah, the safety, I don't think they could build Disneyland today.
I don't think so in that timeline with the way they did it. There's no way.
I mean, like, I feel like lots of people talk about how long things take. And I'm like, well, there's a cost for that speed, like, not
Exactly.
just the monetary one. And like, I know Katie and I both walked out of the movie, and as we were driving back to Orange County, we both commented on we were shocked that nobody was killed
Yes,
during the
it's
making of
really
it.
that we know of.
Well, you're
We don't talk about that.
I'm sure we would've it would've come out by now. It's been 70 years. Actually, there had to have been a record somewhere, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then as we're seeing all these crazy things that we've seen before that involve safety risks, we also see scenes of things that I've never seen before. I mean, I would say probably 85-90% of the video was either completely original or you'd seen like this little few-second clip and then they expanded the whole thing so you'd see it. And were there any like, did you have any favorites that you think of that pop out as you're like, "Oh, I've never seen anything like this before?"
I mean, I think what really stuck out to me really was the whole rocket ship. I know we kind of touched upon it too, but the way that was built, and I think the way they kind of where they placed that scene, it was right near the end and where they
Mhm,
like right before we get the big scene of everybody coming in. And I feel like that was such a big turning point for the documentary because it was like they did it. It was kind of like a capstone, like we were talking about the top of it, and seeing that put brought up, it's just such like an iconic symbol of that like rocket. It's like blasting off to the
mhm.
tomorrow, like a Tomorrowland. Like it really is such a symbolic thing of what it was, and seeing that in all its glory. And like you said, the way the guy put it on top and in such a professional way and stuff. I mean, it was just really, really special seeing all that. I mean, I really I think that was one of the really more remarkable things because of what it was and also what it meant for them and even for the documentary before we switched to seeing Disneyland in action.
Well, and you're totally right because as I'm thinking through the documentary, up to that point, you're hearing the doubts from, like, Art Linkletter of
Yeah.
when Disney pitches it to him of, like, he thinks he's insane,
Right.
and then he's like, "Okay, but you can have my money anyway," which I found very interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
But you hear all of these different stories about, um a lot of doubts, honestly. Like, it was
Yeah,
kind of
everybody was
interesting.
doubting, everybody.
Even Walt to a level that I didn't realize. There was a part where he talks about how he's been broke 4 times before, and maybe this is gonna be the fit, like,
Right?
I could do it again if that needs be or whatever, and I was like, "Wow, so you really this was a hope and a prayer."
And I think it's and Walt is such I think one of his biggest strengths is the way he turns the story. Like, he
Mhm.
was talking about how, people always talk about money and like I never understood the idea of holding on to a pile of money. Like I like
I loved
using the
that.
money. And while it's a great line, it's also him saying that yeah, he almost went broke a lot of times because he was doing stuff. And I think, one of my favorite, Walt lines is how Disneyland will never be completed. And that was really a way to get the press off his back because Tomorrowland like really wasn't completed and the park was not quite ready, but he turned it into one of the most iconic lines. I think that's what this shows and is so special is that the reason this was a success is because they didn't give up. They didn't listen to the critics. They didn't listen to the doubters. They had a belief and a dream and they just kept going. And obviously Walt was, leading the charge with all that and that obviously inspired, down the line. But I think that's what's so inspirational and remarkable about this story is that they had so many bumps and failures and doubters and timelines and everything, but they just kept going and they just took the loss. It wasn't a stopping point. It was just another bump in the road. And I think
Mhm.
that's just what's so impressive. And it's such a good lesson to take in your life is like a failure doesn't mean the end. Everyone has them. It's like, it's what you do with that failure that really kind of defines who you are, I think.
I totally agree, and to add on top of that is they also layered that with the fact that none of them knew what they were doing.
Right.
Like, they're
Right.
learning how to do
Yes,
these things as they
exactly.
do it. Like, whether
There
it's
wasn't a
Walt learning
guidebook.
how to read plans, or the water is not staying in the rivers of America, like it's all leaking, or like there were so many times you looked at the, or what was the guy, was it Harper Goff? I'm forgetting at the moment now, but he was in charge of doing stuff, and he was in charge of a budget. And he's like, "Well, I don't really know how to do the budget." So when Walt would come in and check with me, he'd just be like, "Well, how?" And Walt would give him the answers. So he kind of just faked it till he made it
Yeah, right.
all the way through, which was kind of hilarious. Like, that would not happen today.
Oh, I know. It was the right time and right place for sure.
Oh, yeah. I think you brought up a really interesting thing though, because there was that lesson of perseverance, and failure's not the end. It's just it's a point in time. Like, one of the things we do here is we celebrate our failures. Like, if we have a good, hard, bad day, and it's actually one of my favorite Walt quotes too, where he says, "I think everybody should have a good failure when they're young." Paraphrase. But like, we have a bad day, that means there's going to be either a good dinner or the champagne's getting pulled out. Like,
Yes.
we're going to be like, you know what, this was bad, and we're going to celebrate that. And it's kind of bizarre.
I like it. I like it. You gotta keep going. You gotta keep going. That's the thing. You can't let it
It's
stop you. You
true.
gotta keep
And it's
going.
been such a game changer, I think, even in my mental health, of like, oh, it's not just something you read about or you see Walt Disney do, or, that guy over there, or, like, because there's, everybody knows somebody that's like, well, it always seems to work for them. And like, when you start making it part of the process, it's not a downer, it's just a step. But I did think there were some other fun lessons to be learned, or like takeaways from this documentary. Was there anything beyond that that really jumped out at you as you were kind of going through this and had time to think about it afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one of the biggest takeaways is just how timeless everything is and was made. Because I feel like even when the park opened and like obviously, everyone was in their 50s attire and all this gear, but even the park when it was open was still aimed at nostalgia, even though it was brand new. And I think that's like a special thing that makes this park so special because you're really getting transported into a new land, like a new place. You're leaving the world behind. They made a berm around Disneyland to keep the outside out. They wanted everything to feel like there's one entrance, so everybody comes in the same way, exits the same way. Like the way it was created, I think now we think about Main Street and we think it's, a nostalgia, it's old town. But even back then, they had kind of those same feelings. Sure, it was a little more familiar, but like I think it was still trying to create this feeling of another place that maybe you've never been, but feels like coming home and feels a part of your DNA and your soul. And I think it's just so amazing seeing that because of the whole end of the documentary, you really get to live in and see the people enjoying it and walking
Mhm.
down Main Street just like we do and seeing it. And sure, they look a little different and here and there the way they're dressed and stuff, but it's you and me. It's like it's us. It's the
Mhm.
same people. They had that same feeling walking through those gates that we do now that they hold, even though Walt Disney unfortunately has been gone for so long. That feeling of coming into Disneyland that he dreamed of, that he created, is still there. And being able to see that, I think it was really special because you see clips here and there, but like you got to live in it for what 15, 20 minutes and just really
Mhm.
experience that and be like, that was me. Like that was the same kind of feelings I have that these people felt. And that was really special to understand that this place has been doing that for 70 years. And was laid the blueprint for the other parks around the world and all this kind of stuff. Like it really, you know how important Disneyland is, but I think being able to see it this way really gives you even a more incredible appreciation of what it is and what it means.
Totally agree. I would also couple on with that is I felt like there was a definite through line of the power of a passionate person. So you hear Walt's passion throughout the whole movie, even if it's not him talking about it. There's other times through the movie where somebody else is talking about Walt's dream and his vision and his passion. And quite often it's, well, we don't really understand it, but Walt's on board with it, so it'll be
Yeah,
fine.
right?
And
Yeah.
and like, or Walt's in charge, and if it fails, that's his problem, like, but throughout the whole time, you see all of these different people, and some of them are at the executive level, and then you see all the frontline people that are all getting on board for this passion project of Walt Disney, and they just kind of blindly follow it because I just don't think any of them had that. I don't know. I think there was probably just a handful of people that actually had any inkling of what this possibly could be, and it was probably a lot fewer than anybody would care to admit.
Oh, yeah, for sure, 100%.
But I loved that they're like, well, we love Walt, we believe in Walt, and all of these hundreds of people are just going to continue to follow Walt's passion project, whatever happens. And I thought that was something very inspiring because how many times do people have that passion project or that idea? And if they can't articulate that vision or whatever, sometimes they just disappear. But I think there is a lesson to be learned about learning to share your passions and to go with your passions with other people as opposed to just trying to do it on your own, because at the end of the day Walt didn't know how to make a waterfall for the Jungle Cruise and was going to make it out of plywood. He wanted to make it like we made movies, and I remember them talking about, no, we have to make it cement so the water can, like whatever. And I thought that was interesting just to see kind of how those things came together and how that team at so many levels, like from the guys that looked fancy on top of the Mark Twain to the other guy that was swimming in the waters that looked absolutely disgusting and
Yeah,
Jungle
right, I
Cruise.
know. Swimming under the boat, making sure everything's right. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that was very
Once
striking.
again, another safety, like that was one of my big.
There's a lot of questions, but you know what? It's, the ends justify the means, something like that.
I guess it actually makes a lot of different projects in history make so much more sense
Yeah.
because none of them were videoed like this.
Yeah, oh,
And you
yeah.
think of, was it 50 hours of video they said that they were combing through for this?
Maybe 100? I think,
Or
yeah,
maybe
it's something.
100.
It could
I've
have been
seen both since
yeah,
then,
right,
so I
I
got a
think so.
little confused, but
Right.
so much video that they went through that now we get to see
Yeah,
an
it was like
hour and a half
200
of.
reel. Yeah, I think it was like 200 reels, they said. But what's so cool too about this is this only happened because it, it seems that because they made a deal with ABC to televise the Disneyland, and that's what helped, get the extra funds to be able to actually make Disneyland. And it's funny, Walt went to a lot of the other studios and companies, and they just didn't believe in it. They didn't want to invest it, but ABC was like, okay, let's try this new TV thing and make this happen. And what a difference that made. And that's why they had this camera crew, recording this so, they could show updates during, Walt's TV show and other kind of things. And obviously they had a big presence at the opening. But that was kind of a cool thing where like it was there because of one of the reasons Disneyland was made, because of this ABC deal, which is a whole nother fascinating side of everything that changed the relationship of Disney and ABC and what could have been if they went with any other studios. But that was pretty special too.
And it was so fun seeing the tie-in with ABC also, from the introduction of the first Disneyland show to then the same guy a year later being like, and now I get to introduce the Disneyland park. And I was
Right.
like,
And he was so
oh,
excited.
that's so cool.
Yeah, he was something like, I feel like people here feel like what it was like when the opening of the Eiffel Tower or something. Like
Yeah.
he's just
Yeah.
forever grateful that he was able to be a part of this moment, which is such a special moment that they even really realized and appreciated back then.
So this documentary arrives on Disney Plus and Disney's YouTube on January 22nd. What would you say to someone who's, I feel like all the Disney fans that are a little more hardcore like can't wait already for this to come out. But like, what about somebody who's like, maybe? Like, what would you say to that maybe person, or that like this is the first time they've ever heard about this person?
I think one of the most important things about this documentary is showing the strength and adaptability and creativity and resilience and perseverance of humanity. Like I think this is such puts on display. Like I said, they don't cut away. They show the good and the bad, and they show how these people came together from different walks of life to really make something truly special that would provide happiness and magic for millions of people around the world. And you don't really get to see things like you get to see clips, and there's I always love those. If you like those old documentaries like World War II in color or something, or
Mhm.
like other things where you really get to step back in time for a little bit. And I think that's really special to not only know how far we've come, but to show how strong we've always been and how special things are. And I think another thing that I really want people to understand is a lot of the people that built Disneyland, were not construction builders. They weren't, theme park. A lot of them were animators. They were set designers. Like Walt brought in a ton of people from his studio and were like, "You're building a theme park," and they're like, "We don't even know what that means." And it just shows that if you have this vision, if you have a plan, if you have a leader that has the strength, that you can accomplish the impossible that nobody believed in. It's like a story of just unbelievable doubt and the way people can overcome it. And I think there's so many valuable lessons about it on top of just being cool to live in the 50s for a little bit and like see how far we've come. And I think it's really special. It's not that long. It's not going to like it's not a series that's multiple episodes. I think if you just take the time, you'll have a greater appreciation of how people can build. It doesn't I mean Disneyland obviously it's I think the magic of it is because it's Disneyland, but it's the way it's just how it was built that I think is something that should be celebrated.
And it's gonna change your perspective the next time you walk into the park.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
100%.
going to Disneyland tomorrow, and I'm already anticipating that moment of walking in the main gate and be like, "Well, this is different." Like,
Right?
'cause you
Yeah.
get to see like, it gives some of the best consecutive views of Disneyland then at different
Yes.
points of then versus Disneyland now, even to the point of walking into the hub where they had that time lapse camera on
Yeah.
the massive tower in dirt, and now we have a partner statue. Like, it's
Right.
and then looking at Rivers of America or Tomorrowland, like, it's so interesting how those things evolved through the years and how much stress at that time there was, and I'm sure that's probably true for every project at
Of
Disney,
course. Of
right as you're getting up at the end, especially probably the Disney Cruise Line.
Yeah, seriously.
But
Oh my gosh.
I loved seeing echo everything you said is the perseverance and the drive and the vision coming to life, and only one person really knew in his head, like, "Oh, this is what it's gonna be." And then seeing his like, I think it changed how you hear him do his dedication speech. Because there's a true joy there that you have a greater context for, and I loved seeing that, and it's just incredible video as well, and it
Yeah.
passed my watch test. I didn't look at my watch once, which
Same.
I
Yeah.
have I have a hard time getting through movies pretty often, and so I'm like, "How many times do I look at my watch?" I didn't look once, like, I was shocked. 2 thumbs up for me,
Yeah. Same
hats
here.
off to it, like, I just think
Unequivocally.
it's fantastic. And then we had the added bonus that night of getting the frosting, I guess you could say, on this cake of an evening of basically our night ended by going to Walt Disney's office,
No, no, no
and
big deal. Right?
no big deal, right? What did you think about it? Did anything stand out? How did you feel? Like, I'm very we haven't actually talked about this. It just happened,
Yeah.
and it was
I
kinda
know.
one of those, like
I know it was a really special thing because we got to share it together. Like I always say,
mhm,
like these are the most unbelievable, incredible experiences that we're so honored and humbled to be able to do it. And they're made even more special by being able to share it with people like you. And we there's such an amazing crew of media and different people, and
yeah,
being able to experience that with you just makes it more special because we were able to take each other's pictures and kind of look at each other. And when we were walking through the
geek
halls and
out
looking at
together.
pictures, yeah, like there's doors everywhere and we're like, what's in this door? Oh, there's a Marvel door, there's this. It's like being able to geek out and share your love with somebody
Exactly.
is so amazing. So that made it more even more special. But it's another thing. I think it was a very good connective tissue between Disneyland Handcrafted because you were
Mhm.
stepping back in time for that documentary, and this office is the same thing. They say they really preserved it like it would be. Walt passed in '66, and it's like when you go, if you would have visited him back then, this is what it would have looked like. There's the secretary's desk, there's his like meeting office, and then his like working office and the kitchen with like food in there and stuff. And it's really special just to be able to think what happened in these rooms. And you see the piano
Mhm.
that he used to, play with. The Sherman brothers used to come in and play for him all the time, and his little airplanes and his models. And there's the plans for Disneyland, or the like, I think, or Disney World,
Florida
maybe, or what?
project.
Yeah, the Florida
Yeah,
projects there.
yeah.
So, seeing that little slice of time was really special to be able to really walk through there. And it's one of those things I wish I could have just like sat there for like an hour and just feel that. Like it was a little, we felt a little rushed, so that's always a little tricky with those kind of things. But such an honor to be able to be in that room and experience that and see what it was like and be like, wow, what
And
meetings
was
and what what things could have happened.
right? Was there one artifact or piece of furniture or something sitting on a desk that or a shelf or whatever that really jumped out at you?
I think one of the bigger things, I just love that his briefcase was just on the floor.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's such a little touch, but it's like when he walked in, he'd probably just dropped that off, sat in his
Mhm.
desk, got to work, picked it back up, went home. It's just like those simple things like make such it's that little slice of life that like, yeah, that's real. Like it's really real. And also probably the spam in the counter was pretty funny too. Enjoyed that. A spam man, I like it.
Uh-huh. I definitely got some spam for Christmas, and a joke was made about it in the moment.
Oh my gosh, so
Like,
funny.
"See, it's a Disney gift."
Right.
Now it can be because it's in
Exactly.
Walt's office. I loved also the files that were on in his working office. Like, his show office is gorgeous, and that's actually the one I feel like that we see pictures of the most.
Yeah.
The working office is the one that I resonate more with, and it's also the one we see in Walt Disney: A Magical Life,
Yeah,
and it
right.
was fun to see. Like, you could totally imagine it kind of looked like he either just got there in the morning or he was just about to leave because everything was lined up perfectly, and there was, like, little stacks of papers here or there or books or scripts or like, there were scripts on the back wall, it looked like, on
Yeah,
that
yeah.
shelf, and it was cool to see the models and stuff too, and the figurines because that was something you always think of with Walt, but the actual working parts, I think, were the parts that really like, the briefcase and, that stuff really did make it real. Like,
Yeah,
that
right.
it was
Made it feel
very
more of just
crazy.
like a show. It was like, this is what it
Yeah,
was like, and I think that's pretty cool.
and his other office is gorgeous, and the piano always will stand out to me. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
just
for
think
sure. So iconic.
we my first D23 event was when they'd, refurbished that piano probably 13, 14 years ago, and I guess D23 is pretty new then, and they did an event and they brought a bunch of legends and luminaries in, including Richard Sherman, so he played that piano for the first time and for who knows how long, and it was a
Yeah.
very special and it wasn't in that room, it was in another building even, but, um,
Still,
having
that's
heard Richard Sherman play
oh my
that piano
gosh, man.
live is
Give me
just one of
chills.
those it really is, like, it's one of those things that's a core memory, and then this night, I think, is gonna be one of those core memories where we go
100%.
back, 5, 10, 15 years and be like, "Oh, do you
We were
remember that
there.
one event? Like, what was that one?" And I think this will be one of them. Um, is there anything else from the night that really stands out to you?
I mean, I think it's just cool they brought some churro and pretzel carts out for all of those. That's always a nice
Can't
touch.
go
Like,
wrong with it, and the
I know,
popcorn,
like,
don't forget the
yeah, and the
popcorn.
popcorn, of course, and stuff. But I think it's just like I said. Also, just being in this space with these people. I think I think I may have mentioned this to you. I can't remember if it was you or Lua that I was talking to when we were walking out. But when you go to a movie or a documentary and it's like a really good movie, and you clap and cheer at the end when the
Mhm.
credits come out. You're like, this was great. But like, some people joke, I think it's still cool, but some people are like, who are you clapping for? What are you doing?
Right.
But we were able to clap and show our love to Leslie, to the team that made it. And I think that was just so special that just seeing that after the words came out that Leslie was thanking, all the creators and people that made this, that we were able to do the same thing for her. I think that was just one of the really most special heartwarming because I can't imagine how difficult and how much of a process it was to put this together and make this. And I think it was great that we were able to really show some love back to her and be like, this is something really special and a piece of history that you created that will live on for forever in such a special way that will really show something even more magical about Disneyland. It's really there's no words for that. And I think and like I said, alongside knowing who's in that room is just
Yeah.
it was incredible.
I completely agree with you. Like, it was almost a gift to us to be able to thank them
Well, yeah,
in the
right.
moment. Like,
Yes.
there's that element of, yes, this is something that as a filmmaker you may not get as much, but like that room was so enthusiastic. Like, I loved the vibe in that room as we were walking out. Like, everybody's smiling, geeking out about something. Like, just such a positive energy, and just knowing that we got to thank them basically personally, like, that's
Yeah,
never
right.
happens, and
Exactly.
then also knowing this is gonna be a treasure for Disney fans for decades, if not beyond. Like, this is one of those things that I think when people ask me, and probably you as well, like, "Oh, I'm kind of a new Disney fan, what should I watch on Disney Plus?" I will be like, "This one probably is gonna be, if not at the top, but it's pretty close,"
Yeah,
and it's kind of interesting that
100%.
I think a couple of those will be from Leslie Iwerks.
I know.
But yeah, but fantastic night. I echo what you said earlier today too, is it really is special, the group of people that get to do these kind of events together. Like I've been doing this for a few years and I can't say that I've ever had more fun with the group of people that we get to do these kind of things with in different parts of the country and around the world. And it really is, it's we're making some, I think, probably lifelong friendships through these events, and you being one of them. And we always, whenever I find out you're at an event, I'm like,
I
yes,
know, it's like victory.
like we're gonna have fun, like we're gonna have fun anyway. But like added level, like bonus level. So Adam, where can people, as we wrap this up, where can people find you, follow you, connect with you, all of those fun things?
So yeah, everyone can follow my work on IGN.com, and I also host a podcast which I have to get you and even Katie on soon, called
You
Talking Disney
should.
Magic, where we
That'd be fun.
rank and review Disney films, plus talk about all the biggest news and events like this, and kind of give you an inside look at someone who works in the media and with Disney a lot. And obviously, and the main place is Instagram at Adam Bankhurst, also on TikTok and other places you can find. That's my handle everywhere. But yeah, those are kind of the main places to find me.
And we will have those in the show notes too, so you can just click on the link and make life easy for
We
everybody.
appreciate that.
And definitely follow. Like you have always uplifting and positive content that you watch it and you're always going to walk away with a smile. And that we need more of in the world. So definitely follow and connect with Adam, because you will not regret it. He's it's just like when he goes to an event, I know I'm going to have fun. When I see he's got something new up, I'm like, oh, this is going to make me smile. And that can be very good on some days.
Yes, I know. And
Like
yeah,
we all have our ups and downs. It's great. But thank you so much for being on, Adam. And everybody make sure to connect with him and go check out Disneyland Handcrafted on January 22nd and the 23rd and the 24th and the 25th. Just watch it over and over and over again.
so they can
I
get
want
more
to
of
watch
these
it at
things.
least like 12 times.
Oh my God!
One, to
yes.
get more, and two, there's so many good details I just want to dig into. But it'll be great. Thanks for listening, everybody. We look forward to seeing you in the parks. That really was a blast. I had so much fun chatting with Adam about Disneyland Handcrafted, and I hope you enjoyed being a part of the conversation from wherever you're listening to this podcast as well. If you did like this podcast, please let us know. You can do that in the comments. You can do it by leaving us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or even on YouTube, I suppose, as well. But let us know what you think. Let us know what you'd like more of. We love to connect with you. That makes it so much more fun. And you can connect with us either in the comments, in the reviews. Those are great. You can also connect with us with Daps HQ, which is patreon.com/DapsMagic, as I mentioned earlier, or on Facebook or Instagram. Any of those places, you're going to find us, and we will get to geek out more about Disney and positive stuff. I want to give a huge thank you to Adam for being on Disney and positive stuff and sharing this experience with me in person and then reliving it together on Disney and positive stuff. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And you know what? We could have gone so much longer, but we had restraint. So probably you're welcome for that, or maybe you do want more. Anyway, I hope you all are having an absolutely fantastic day, that it's a great day wherever it is that you happen to be. I'm very thankful for you. I'm thankful for you that you listened to this and hopefully enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you in the parks. So make it a great one, everybody, and keep kind.